Nothing ever happens? Don't be a fool. I'm afraid things have in fact happened. Based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States of America to 125%. Don't do the voice. I'm doing the voice. Effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called I've got tired of it, I'm done with the bit already, have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries are not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the U.S., I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The tariff on China has gone up to 125%. China has also spiked their tariff against us to like 90% or something like that now. So we both have apocalypse tariffs in both directions. We still have 10% on the world, is my understanding. He's saying that no other country has retaliated against us in any way, shape, or form, even though the EU signed counter tariffs against us today. And also, it has been literally 12 hours since the tariffs rolled out. So essentially, like, it's pretty obvious what happened here, okay? To borrow a funny quip that I saw on Twitter, as fascists are wont to do, Donald Trump assumed that you win wars via willpower rather than logistics and opened up a multi-front conflict that he had no hope of winning. They love doing that shit, folks. At some point, he realized, or perhaps somebody told him, that the United States is not capable of winning a trade war against the entire world. China only has to win a trade war against us. We have to win it against everyone. It's not a good deal. So we're narrowing the line of conflict. The markets are going to overreact so hard to this news. Oh, of course. Absolutely. Guys, again, the markets are not the health of the country. The markets are a giant bubble of people desperately trying to make a quick buck off of the health of the country. I'm sure the Dow is up thousands of points because everyone's trying to buy that dip. Up nearly 6.5%. Up nearly 6.5% at the news that we're going to be having reciprocal tariffs to China of over 100% in both directions. I'm a little disappointed. Don't be stupid. This is, we're still in the end times. There's no returning to what we had. There's no going back, okay? We have 125% tariffs on China. The only thing Trump has denied us is a clean narrative to the apocalypse. Yeah, we'll talk about the Treasury notes soon. Hello, Treasury Secretary Besant, looking dapper today.
That as the U.S. announced
that was sarcasm, by the way.
The tariff wall last week, many of those goods have already started flooding into Europe.
So as you see it now, this trade war is China versus the rest of the world.
Well, I'm not calling it a trade war, but I am saying that China has escalated, and President Trump responded very courageously to that, and we are going to work on a solution with our trading partners.
And if I could just, excuse me, Raquel, if I could just add to what the Secretary said. Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here.
She saw an opportunity to rack up some more gluck points.
You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets, they need our consumers, and they need this president in the Oval Office to talk to them. And that's exactly why more than 75 countries have called, because the United States of America is the best place in the world to do business.
This is how pathetic the United States is and how pathetic this regime has become. They're bragging about countries reaching out to them when they throw like an apocalyptic trade tantrum. Not even a successful deal. They're not even bragging about countries offering like concessions to the United States. Remember, their cope was that all of this was like a negotiating tactic. But now, without extracting anything from the entire planet, they're pausing the tariffs. The whole narrative was simultaneously, we're doing this to bring back American manufacturing and raise money in lieu of income tax. And also, it's a negotiating tactic that we're using to fix the trade disparity between these countries and ourselves. But now we've given up on all that. Now we're just saying like, oh, well, they called us. What do they call us to do? Say this is stupid? Oh, well, tariffs are gone. 90-day pause. Again, the only news to take from this is that somebody got through to Trump and essentially said, like, they're going to disappear you, Mr. President, unless you find a way to narrow this down a little bit.
And as the president has shown great courage, as the secretary has said, in choosing to retaliate against China even higher. Elena, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Treasury Secretary Besson. Can you explain more of the decision making on what feels like a reversal here? I mean, just these went into effect less than 15 hours ago, these tariffs. Why the pause now? What led to that?
No.
Oh, yeah, trade stability really likes the whole reciprocal tariffs lasting less than 24 hours. By the way, that's great for, like, you know, businesses being able to make predictions about how many people to hire, how many people to fire, where to source their you know, the products for their supply line, where they get stuff from, which trade deals to work on. Volatility is traditionally phenomenal for business.
Again, President Trump created maximum negotiating leverage for himself, and
which is why he's extracted exactly 0 concessions. Not one, not a single concession.
Tariffs went into effect 15 hours ago. The ones that we have lowered went into effect a week ago. They were announced a week ago, and we've just been...
They didn't go into effect 15 hours ago. They went into effect a week ago. Well, they were announced a week ago. They did go into effect 15 hours ago. That's true. Yeah, you were correct on that one. I don't know why I'm talking, to be honest.
Overwhelmed by the response from mostly our allies who want to come and negotiate in good faith. So we are expecting them to come with their best deal. As I said a week ago today, don't retaliate, hold your ground, let's see what happens. And China, they kept escalating and escalating, and now they have 125% tariffs that will be effective immediately.
Mr. Secretary.
Obviously, China didn't escalate at all. They're pushing for this, but, you know, China's well positioned to win this trade war. Really rooting for them. Also, the EU literally did retaliate against us. By the way, since yesterday, they've yet to negotiate with any of the countries that reached out to them. Oh, yeah, no. Nobody, the White House did not respond to anyone. All these countries reached out to the White House. The White House didn't respond. Why? Because Trump never intended to talk to them. He just wants to blow up the planet. So somebody talked to him and was like, listen, there are powers in this world greater than you and you are making them angry. You need to dial this down. I do think China announced retaliatory tariffs. That's not them escalating. That's them responding. China's tariffs have consistently remained lower than the ones we've applied to them.
Go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for doing this. The 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs, is that because of the whiplash that we've been seeing across the financial markets? How much was, what we saw in the stock markets, a part of this decision?
No, it's because because of the large number of inbounds, we've had more than 75 countries contact us, and I imagine after today there will be more. So it is just a processing problem.
Why would more countries contact the United States after they responded to nobody before and then lowered the tariffs anyway? How does that incentivize trade and negotiation when you don't talk to people and then the thing they want to happen happens anyway?
Each one of these solutions is going to be bespoke. It is going to take some time, and President Trump wants to be personally involved. So that's why we're getting the 90-day pause.
Emily.
Clarification. Mr. Secretary, there was a tweet that you and Secretary Letnick were in the Oval Office with the President talking about this. Can you talk about what that conversation was like and what you guys said to one another that led to this decision?
Look, it's all the President's decision, and the President had...
That's not how trade deals should work. Nah, I'm pretty sure this is how the Founding Fathers wanted it to be, with every decision being made unilaterally by the President and the executive secretaries only being there to, like, talk about how smart the President is. The secretaries don't even talk about, like, what they've offered to the conversation. They're not like, well, as a 45-year expert in trade, I offered this to the President or whatever. They literally are only there to liaison with the media to say, well, like, glorious God Emperor Trump has plans, you know. He works in mysterious ways, but his intentions are divine. Who are we to question him?
A level in mind to raise the China tariffs, and then he had the 3-month, essentially the 3-month pause in mind, and we were discussing the exact wording. Sorry? Of course.
It's the president's decision.
It's the president's decision. It was the president's decision to wait until today. And again, as I've said in the past, no one.
I like how he says this like this is a defense or like answers anyone's question. The world is ending. You're imploding the economy, and he's like, "Well, no. Like the God Emperor wills it." Okay, what?
Creates leverage for himself, like President Trump.
Mr. Secretary.
Shelby, go
Mr.
ahead.
Secretary, what does the president want to see by this, I think it's July 9th deadline to keep things paused? Is it just trade barriers coming down, or is it more than that?
Well, these are trade negotiations, but if countries want to come and offer other things, I talked about yesterday that we are thinking about a big LNG project in Alaska that South Korea, Japan, Taiwan are interested in financing and taking a substantial portion of the offtake. But again, in essence, that is trade because it will decrease the trade deficit that we.
So we will potentially lower tariffs on our allied nations if they invest in the United States. But foreign investment in the United States was literally the thing they said we had too much of. They literally said, like, America needs to own America. Why are we letting all these foreign companies control our capital?
We have with those countries. So everything's on the table.
Raquel, go ahead.
A clarification on the
Is it weird that a suit has those heavy stitches on the lapel that look strangely prominent? Oh, nice bait. You really, I was just looking at those. They look awful, don't they? You know what? You're not going to get me this time, but maybe we'll touch back on that subject in the near future. This is very important economic news.
On the pause, what happened to those countries who just had 10% baseline tariffs, like Brazil and others? Are they still going to have this 90-day pause? Because you were saying that there will be a tariff of 10% for others. So what happened to those who just had a 10%?
Yeah, that's going to remain.
And do you call this an embargo to China?
Pardon?
You call this an embargo to China, a trade embargo?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by the word embargo.
125% tariffs, like on those, and then impose 84%. Isn't this an embargo?
Well, it's not. It's China's decision that we have the deficit with them. They sell us almost 5 times what we sell them. So again, I think it's an own goal by China.
Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Secretary.
I'm going to elaborate more on this in the future, but I think that even if the United States narrows the range of their tariffs largely just to China, China is very well positioned to win that conflict. No matter how high the tariffs go or how much the Chinese economy hurts, I think they're positioned to win that. I don't think we can win that. I don't think we could win that even if we were being governed sensibly. It's really difficult for us to win that when they have like 50 million times as many factories as we do. Like their domestic manufacturing base is enormous compared to ours. They're much better at meeting their own needs without trade. And frankly, without our wealth. I know it's illegal as but what stops Trump from refusing to pay for bonds that China owns? That would make the US dollar worthless. That would actually like immediately end the world, basically. Like that would have about the same effect on the world as if every nuclear weapon was fired at once. Yeah, don't tell them that's a possibility because they could do that. If the US defaults on the debt China holds in our state on in the treasuries, that's 3 a.m. Truth Social tweet incoming. Yep.
Does it signal that you're confident that you're going to be able to strike a satisfactory deal with all these 75 nations that have approached you?
It signals that President Trump cares about trade and that we want to negotiate in good faith. And as I said, each one of these is going to be a separate bespoke negotiation So we are confident that having seen the other side of where this could go, and it was like I said last week, the market didn't understand. Those were maximum levels.
Say this direction continues and we don't get another switcheroo, do we still get a recession? 125% tariff on China is more than enough to still, like, ruin the US economy. The global economy. For sure. 100%. Yeah. Not to mention the broad 10%. Not to mention the general distrust. The instability. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Countries can think about those levels as they come to us to bring down their tariffs, their non-tariff trade barriers. We're going to discuss currency manipulation, subsidy of labor, and industry.
Secretary, as far as you, will the pause also apply to the sectoral tariffs that the president has announced, pharma, lumber, anything else?
No, it's on the reciprocal.
So those will still be coming here soon, right? Mr.
Correct.
Secretary, as far as the negotiations with the 75
Andrea, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, so I want to ask you about what you're doing here. So the market is reacting crazily, right?
I haven't seen it.
Do you think that this move is...
I haven't seen it. Dog, that's your job. That's more your job than anyone in the world. Did no one tell him? Everyone else has been looking.
going to change and calm down the market reaction?
What?
Do you think the markets have tanked, right? There's been a lot of volatility in the market, not just in terms of stock markets, but also in terms of bonds. So will this move in your mind, do you anticipate that this is going to calm the markets down?
Well, I think what we've seen, I think the willingness by more than 75 countries to come and negotiate, I think now the market understands that everything they saw last Wednesday was a ceiling, and now we have a 10% the temporary floor, and I think the market...
What does that mean?
My 35 years in the market, I always wanted certainty, so I think we've got more certainty.
But Mr. Secretary,
Maggie, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, why do people assume this is the last word? The president began this morning saying, be cool. 5 hours later, he announces a new policy. Why will investors in the market assume that this is it?
Because, again, as I said, we've given 90 days, and the only certainty we can provide is
this
that
guy's
the US
job
is going
sucks.
to negotiate in good faith, and we assume that our allies will too. And in terms of certainty, we will see what China does. But what I'm certain of is that what China...
And he sucks at his job. No. I mean, his job sucks. I mean, like, he doesn't... Dude, you know he's not being given, like, any explanation for anything, right? Like, every night he's like cradling his head in his hands, and then he passes out, and then he wakes up, he looks at Trump's Truth Social posts, he looks at the market in his phone, and he's like, all right, time to earn that paycheck, I guess. And then he does this. Like, it's not... I'm not saying he's not incredibly evil. I'm just saying that he's smart enough to know that what he's saying is nonsense.
China is doing will affect their economy much more than it will ours, because they have an export-driven, flood the world with cheap export models, and the rest of the world now understands, because when we put up our tariff wall, those exports were already flowing to the rest of the G7 and to the global South.
And you think
Mr. Secretary, how much of this decision was driven by the
That meant nothing, by the way.
bond market cratering overnight? What is happening with bonds? Is China selling their...
Oh yeah, what are the 10 years up to?
I have nothing that says that, and we actually had quite a good 10-year auction today, and all this was, again, this was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along, and that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors, and we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
And this
What's your message to
the Politico article
Mr.
saying that
Secretary,
the countries weren't getting
these
calls back.
negotiations with these 75 countries, how long will that take? Will it be a matter of weeks? Will it be a matter of months? Do you expect financial markets to be stable during that time period?
Well, we've started with a 90-day pause, and we will see if more countries turn up, what will happen. But we have a meeting with Vietnam today, and we have one of the largest trade.
What's the end game here? Like, what actually is the point? There's no point. It's really difficult to know what's part of the plan and what isn't, but this is not part of the plan. So someone got through to Trump. That's it. That's the only thing that changed. Trump was like it was someone in chat, or not in chat, sorry, one of the reporters earlier pointed out that Trump was as recently as, look, 4 hours ago, this is a great time to buy my stock. Be cool. Everything is going to work out well. The USA will be bigger and better than ever before. Like, all of these, yes, our economy is about to boom. Tariffs are good. Tariffs are good. We are pausing tariffs on the entire world for 90 days. The only country we're maintaining high tariffs on is China. This is because nobody's retaliated against us except for the people who've retaliated against us. Tariffs are good, but also they're a negotiating tactic. We want to bring back domestic manufacturing, but also we don't want to. We want this, but also we don't want this. Good is bad, bad is good. Like, the only thing that changed is somebody pointed out to Trump that this is a completely unwinnable battle. That's it. Unfortunately, it's very unsatisfying because everyone wants the conspiratorial, like, well, everything's part of a big plan. I do believe they're deliberately trying to cause a recession. I don't know how many of them even know that that's what they want to do. I think that for a lot of them, they genuinely don't. We're not dealing with smart people. For the most part, we're dealing with subnormal people. These are people who failed upward, you know? Trump is not smarter than the average person. Egotism actually makes him stupider than the average person. By far, like by a huge margin, you know? Here, from that Bob Woodward book. Mr. President, can I show this to you? Cohn fanned out the pages of data in front of the president. See, the biggest levers of jobs, people leaving voluntarily, was from manufacturing. I don't get it, Trump said. Cohn tried to explain. I can sit in a nice office with air conditioning and a desk, or stand on my feet 8 hours a day. Which one would you do for the same pay? Cohn added, people don't want to stand in front of a 2,000-degree blast furnace. People don't want to go into coal mines and get black lung. For the same dollars, or equal dollars, they're going to choose something else. Trump wasn't buying it. Several times Cohn just asked the president, why do you have these views? I just do, Trump replied. I've had these views for 30 years. That doesn't mean they're right, Cohn said. I had the view for 15 years I could play professional football. That doesn't mean I was right. This is the kind of person we're dealing with here. So when you ask, like, what is the plan here? He's a megalomaniac 80-year-old. That's it. Is he a fascist? Yeah, but he doesn't think about that. Is he a white supremacist? Yeah, but he doesn't think about that. Do you think this has to do with insider trading? There are lots of people trying to make money off of this, but no. The market swing that we're seeing right now, the NASDAQ is probably up a bunch. Yeah, look at that. This is not insider trading. There might be people conducting insider trading, but for it to be coordinated insider trading, that would suggest that this was all done on purpose, which it wasn't. Somebody just got through to Trump. He made a Truth Social post. That's it. The S&P 500's all green. Yeah, and soon it'll go down again. The effects of tariffs haven't even really hit yet. It's been like 12 hours since they came out. Bond yield scared them enough. That might have been part of it. Maybe. Will everyday commodities start going up? Brother. Weren't you around during the Biden administration?
Deficits with them, so I'm hoping it will move in a good direction. I was at the Japanese ambassador's house last night for the Cherry Blossom Festival, which was quite festive, and he and I had a good chat. They are going to send a deal team over, so we'll see. These are complicated negotiations.
Wow.
These are imbalances that have taken decades to create, but I think having seen the maximum level that Donald Trump is willing to go to, President Trump has created this negotiating leverage.
Excuse me, everybody.
Classic negotiating tactic, okay? Open by showing people the farthest that you're willing to go, but no farther, and then immediately dial it back down. Classic strategy right there. Hey, for 12 hours, we're going to do the policy that you don't want to see, but I won't do any more than that. But then we're going to bring it back down. For no reason.
Excuse me. The secretary is obviously a very busy man. As he said,
sure.
He's had more than 75 countries that the trade team has to respond to. I'd just like to end with this. For decades, Republicans and Democrats have said that these unfair trade practices are ripping off the American people, are ripping off our country, but nobody has ever done anything to address it. We finally have a president here at the White House who is playing the long game, who is doing what is right for the American worker and our industries here at home, and he has put together a fantastic team in Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lustnick, the entire...
You know what I notice about her, apart from the fact that she's a neo-Nazi? She's pretty forceful. I wonder how much of a, like, power she is behind the scenes, you know what I mean? In a cabinet full of people who are probably, like, mostly just limp dick, you know, opportunists who are hopping on the bandwagon and feigning loyalty in an effort to bolster their own portfolios, I wonder how, like, basically I'm wondering, like, how much of a commissar she is. Does that make sense? Like, how much is she walking around the Oval Office, like, keeping an eye on people? You know?
Trade team who will be focusing on negotiating these good deals to put the American worker...
You think she fondles Trump's balls while she blows him? See, I was acknowledging that she's quite forceful and militant. You took it in a misogynistic direction, which I think that you should do some reflecting on that. Also, she's literally 12.
First, and we're going to get to work to do that. Thank you.
What about the EU? What about the EU? They retaliated this morning. Why aren't they being treated like China?
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Hey, Elena, can I get that statement?
Levitt is married to a 59-year-old Trump donor. Yeah, it just makes me wonder, like, how powerful she is, I guess, you know? Like, she could be, like, an insanely Machiavellian, chaos is a ladder type bitch, you know what I'm talking about? Well, I don't really know. So yeah, basically, I guess the message from today, I'm doing this as like a PSA, mostly for my own benefit, but I want to be really clear about this because sometimes it pisses me off, okay? The stock market is a constant oscillation between it's so over and we are so back. Now, as you might know from your miserable, wretched day-to-day lives where you barely achieve a fraction of the goals you set out for yourself every day, all of life is a it's so over, we are so back sine wave. No matter what's actually happening. You could be at the lowest point in your life and you find like a half-smoked cigarette butt that you get to finish and then in a piss-soaked alleyway, and that's your it's so back moment. The market is exactly the same way. So I don't want you guys freaking out every time the market goes green. Every underlying tendency, every feature of the economy that produces the stability upon which a robust and healthy economy can exist is trending downward rapidly. People are trying to make the most of the situation. Everyone's trying to outsmart the market. There are literally millions of people out there who have like auto notifications or auto conditional buys set to the next time like the tariffs get paused or Trump like makes a Truth Social post. People are looking for any opportunity to make money on the margins. Everyone wants to outsmart the market. And you know what? Wealthy people will still make money in financially difficult times. I've made this point a million times, haven't I? The economy gets bad for you, not for them. So just keep that in mind. I just don't, when the market goes down, that's not bad for the economy because the number going down means the economy is bad. The reason the number going down is bad for the economy is because of instability. It's because there is a mismatched set of expectations between business leaders, job creators, whatever, people who are responsible for making economic decisions, transactions, negotiating, whatever, entire nations, you know? There's a mismatch between what they expect and what's actually happening. Things spiking up, that doesn't take away from that, you know? You finding that half-smoked cigarette butt in the piss-soaked alleyway does not mean that you're not an alcoholic. Wasn't the 90-day tariff thing a fake tweet? Yeah, but then it happened for real. Life imitates art, or whatever. I learned a lot, don't we all?